Welcome back to the Max Your Dash podcast. Thank you for listening, liking, sharing, watching. We are the number one personal finance podcast in the entire world. We're back. We're talking about some spicy stuff today. You're going to want to watch the whole entire thing all the way through. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, leave a like. It's going to really help us to continue growing and come out with more content for you guys. So stop what you're doing. Hit the noti bell and the subscribe button.
This is going to be a good episode, though, because, has there been a more timely thing to talk about than what we're talking about today?
The election. Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
And the stock market. This is probably very timely. I'm wondering if we should save it or I think, no, this is the best time to put it out.
We'll do another one. Remind people right before.
Yeah. No, we got to get it out because people are wondering, what should I do with my investment? We probably have clients, or there's definitely people that aren't clients that have probably already moved their money to cash because they're going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Timing the market. They think they know who's going to win. Yep. This clearly tells us that whatever direction you lean, that's how you feel about the stock market, which is funny because it apparently doesn't really matter.
You think there's already people that have moved to cash?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, dude, I think people started moving to cash 4 years ago.
Yeah, but that was for a different reason. There's no way.
I told you the story that I had somebody tell me, and I won't say what side of the party, that if one side wins, that I should probably consider moving my family and go live in the woods. People have definitely moved to cash. they're waiting to see what's going to happen here.
It's kind of weird though, because we're going to talk about today, the facts of what happens, and people are going to bring up the whole, well, this time is different because of how volatile this whole situation is. Mm-hmm. But the stock market always proves people wrong that it's just the same thing no matter what. This time isn't different.
Yeah.
History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
I was saying offline here, there's probably nothing that will rile people up more than an election year. And we've talked about 100 times on this episode, the hardest part of investing is getting your emotions out of the equation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's also not different. This is the same guy is running for the Republican Party for the third time in a row.
Yeah.
And essentially the same person, not, but it was going to be the same person for two times in a row. It's just, we already know what's happened the last two times.
The events around the world are just different now. But yeah.
Things are definitely spicy, but we gotta be the voice of reason today.
You want to do some Max Your Dash moments?
Yeah. It's been a minute. I'll go.
Okay.
We just built a pond at our hunting property out in Bristol, and it's sick.
Dude, you have been loving this.
Dude, I go over. Dude,
when you were sending just a picture of dirt, I'm like,
what am I looking
at? Is the pond as big as this room?
It's bigger.
Oh, a lot bigger. Looks way bigger.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
No, would you say it's bigger than our office?
The whole office?
Yeah.
Probably about the same size.
Different shape, obviously.
Yeah, probably about the same size.
What do they do? They put a hose in there and let that thing fill up?
Yeah.
How do they actually fill it up?
Nate's water bill's going to be $40,000 this month.
No, it was actually a fascinating process to watch. Have you ever watched a pond get built? The answer to that's an obvious no. It was cool to watch. And what happens is it naturally fills on its own from literally rain, or if you have a spring that feeds it. But he told me, if you build a 1 acre size pond, it might take 2 years to fill.
2 years?
But mine's already halfway full. It'll probably be full in another month or so, especially if we keep getting the rain we've been getting. Dude, for me, that's a big Max Your Dash moment.
It is. You've been psyched up. I was here on, I don't remember what day, and I asked him, Mark, I'm like, where, anyone know where Nate is? He goes, I don't know, he's probably watching his pond or something.
He supervised the entire job.
Dude, you are the perfect Max Your Dash guy, because it's all about, it doesn't matter what the moment is. It's just whatever brings you happiness.
Can I predict Steve's Max Your Dash moment?
Yeah, let's hear it.
He had pizza last Friday.
His buddy from New York City, he hasn't seen in a while, they have pizza.
That actually would be a good Max Your Dash moment. But
did that happen?
We're having pizza tonight.
Yeah, we are.
Wow. Big pizza night? Homemade pizzas?
Homemade pizzas.
Why don't you say that is your Max Your Dash moment tonight?
I'm going to use it for the next one. But no, that's actually a good one. I'm going to change it.
It was going to be pizza?
No, it wasn't going to be pizza, but I forgot that my buddy from New York City was here. But he was here. I don't get to see him much, and it's good to see him. Right. We connect a lot on stuff. Just
do you want to guess what Mark's is?
Some bourbon.
I guess 6 weeks. 6 weeks since I've said anything?
Yeah. You definitely traveled.
Oh, wait, did I already talk about my low round?
No.
That would be it. I mean, that's kind of tough, so now I still have another one for next time, but that's not fair. I should probably just combine them. I did shoot the best round of my life in our member tournament. It was probably about 5 to 6 weeks ago. And then I played terrible for literally every round after that until last week. Finally got it back together. But yeah, I shot 3 under par. It was pretty crazy.
3 under par is pretty good, eh?
I'll probably never do it again. It was about...
Can you stop with that?
Dude, it was 14 strokes lower than my average score on the season at the time.
Yeah, but like last year, your average score was probably 77.
It's true.
So it's just,
but it was pretty crazy.
There's ebbs and flows.
Right. Yeah, I mean...
There's ups and downs.
Wait, is that your best score ever?
Oh, yeah, by far.
Are you going to shoot that on Monday?
No shot.
Well,
are you guys
playing our own ball?
Are you
scramble?
Are you guys missing golf league for that? Or no, it's just one day, right?
Yeah.
No.
All right. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Dude, you know what I actually wanted to do? Oh shit, my phone. I wanted to do I was thinking about this, a surprise call to a client that I know would answer. Like, we should call a client and ask them Max Your Dash moment, but I'm filming. But that would have been perfect. On air live.
That would be good.
That would be good.
I like it.
All right. So as we kind of referenced in the beginning of the episode here, we're going to be talking about the stock market and election years, because this is probably a big thing on a lot of people's minds, especially with what's going on. But every election year, everyone's wondering, what should I do with my money that's invested? Is it going to change? How do I do this? Should I move to cash? Should I invest in this? Like, what do we have to do?
Should I buy physical gold?
Yep. Should I buy physical
that's
gold?
That's a question that people ask all the time.
Bars of gold.
It's kind of crazy. People even though this happens every 4 years, every time it feels like people are thinking that it's going to be the end of the world. And
when was the last election where people didn't kind of get riled up?
I don't remember. I don't think I was in the business long enough to remember.
It was probably if I had to guess, during the Clintons' time was
I'm sure there's we were too young, but I bet even then, if it's.
Who got to? I'm trying to think.
It's the greatest example of bias in human beings.
Oh yeah,
politics,
and it makes you biased in every way. Everything you do, everything you think about.
It's so hard to detach from your emotions when it comes to this.
What is the number one most important skill you can have as an investor? I don't care if you're Warren Buffett or Joe Schmo, just starting out. What's the number one most important skill?
Manage your emotions.
Manage your emotions.
Don't pay attention.
What Warren Buffett would say is just buy. Just keep buying.
Let it ride.
Right.
Just keep buying. Who cares who's the president? Yeah. First of all, it's only a 4-year term. What's going to really happen?
Right. It is kind of crazy that there's so much that goes on with the stock market. People try to make it so analytical and all this stuff, but it really comes down to managing your emotions. If you want to build long-term wealth, that's really all you have to do. But it's easier said than done. We're not talking down on the people right now. Oh, you're feeling scared because of this and the money. That's a completely normal feeling to have. But the first thing is that you have to realize that emotion that you're having is normal, and then it's probably not the best thing to be feeling for your investments, at least.
And probably also to understand that presidents don't drive markets, it's the companies, right, and how the companies are doing. So it's
and so and there is truth that the policymakers can influence the economy and with bills that they pass and funding. The government decided to give a bunch of money out during COVID. That had an effect on the market. So there's no question that the government does have influence, but my biggest fear as a financial advisor is that there's, like I said, there's nothing that will get people more riled up than an election year. And that's the worst mindset to be in when you're trying to make good investment decisions, is being all fired up about who's going to win and who's leading the polls and what their policies are going to be. And if you go to cash because you're worried about stuff, we can prove that 100 out of 100 times that was a bad idea. Mm-hmm. So
there's plenty of data that supports
let's get into some of the data.
Yeah. This should help you approach this time in November with certainty, hopefully, and not worry as much about what's going to go on with your investments, hopefully. Because listen, we've been doing this for a while. We were investment managers during the big COVID crash. If it tells you anything, we're not worried, right?
I mean, I think an interesting perspective is just use the last 4 years. So when Biden came into office, it was during the COVID year.
Right.
Now the market did finish up in 2020, but in that 4-year term, you had COVID, all the craziness of that. And then you had 2022, all this inflation problems and the market was really bad in 2022. We've talked about that on this episode a bunch. But here we are standing here today at all-time highs.
Yeah.
So in the craziest probably 4-year period you could pick. Could you cherry pick a more crazy 4-year period than that?
Hyperinflation, COVID, and interest rates skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the market finished higher than it started. And I wish we should have thought of this question beforehand, but I would love to know, has there ever been a 4-year presidential period where the market was lower at the end than when they started?
Probably based on timing. Yeah. This 08, the end of 08, bad time. Timing.
So what
I don't know who was president during that
time. When did the election start and end?
So I believe, so if we go back here, so 16, I think that it would have ended around there. Yeah.
So it started in 08.
It started, but someone else ended before that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would be like maybe one. So that would be an interesting data point. And we kind of know we already know just by guessing, like if you were to go and look at every 4-year period from start to finish of an election of a presidential term, there's probably like less than 3 that the market finished lower than it started.
Yeah.
Out of all of them. So that's and 08, by the way, probably had nothing to do with the president. That was the housing crisis and all that.
Yeah.
So Bush was 2000 to 2008, and it was good. It ended up being good, and then it ended up being bad. And then Obama started on his first year, and it was a rough one. Obviously, it was 08.
Yeah. But it probably finished higher.
Oh, yeah.
By the time he was done, for sure. Yeah. So it's just interesting perspective.
So also you got to think that these are not things that anyone can control. Now, we don't know what's going to happen, but I would say that we probably know with certainty the one thing that is going to happen is it's probably going to be more volatile, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up is the data does prove that election years are more volatile.
Right.
In the stock market.
Yeah.
Right.
We could be heading into lower interest rates, more broadening market, increased profits, and still see more volatility, maybe even some downside. So a lot of good things could be coming. GDP on the rise, inflation falling, interest rates coming down. A lot of really good things coming into the end of this year, but we still could see a lot of volatility and maybe even a pullback.
And is the volatility, it's weird. The volatility doesn't come necessarily from like the election. It comes from people moving their money around so frequent. Yeah. So it's
I wish Steve doesn't let me have a computer in front of me for the optics here, but I did just find a thing that showed from Fidelity that shows the flows during election years to money market funds, and it's a massive amount.
Oh, it is.
If you go and study presidential years, is what that was showing. It's basically the same amount of money flows into money markets as equity funds in election years.
I want to see the example. There has to be this where if you didn't do that, what your total return is.
That's American funds. That's what I was just trying to find, but I had to download the report. They wanted my email. They spam me, of course.
Sign you.
But it showed. But here was the highlight of what I read. It said that so they compared if you did money market funds and then got back into equities the year following elections versus just stay invested. And it was 17 out of the 23 times that they looked at it, equity funds, if you just stayed invested, you outperform it.
Right. So this says in all election years since 1928, the first year of a president's year in office, the average return is 11.5%.
The first year?
The first year.
First 12 months?
No matter who's president.
Right.
Yep. So,
yeah, markets don't care.
This is
like you just said something a
minute
minute ago that we would easily gloss over. Markets don't care about who's the president. They care about how are the companies doing, how are their profits, how's the the setup for that. They don't necessarily care about president. And we also know, like, from the time a president gets elected to the time they actually start even getting bills passed, and because of the one of the beautiful things about America is, which is also becoming uglier and uglier every day, is like the system does not allow the president to have too much control or one party to have too much control. Right. So it's hard as hell to actually get things done anyway. Yeah. So by the time they even would pass a bill that then maybe money flows to the energy sector of the economy, it has how long?
Right.
So
you're probably talking about like 1 to 2 years, the first 1 to 2 years, you're probably riding the wave of the last president.
For sure.
For better
policies and stuff like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it is just, I don't want to call it a nothing burger, but
over the long term, it is a nothing burger.
Yeah. Over the long term. So what is the data on that? Like, what's the average rate of return if you from a Republican as president versus Democrat as president?
We have that. We'll be fine here.
It's pretty even, right?
It's very even.
S&P. Well, this is like based on divided government is more of the.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one where that kind of has more of an influence. If you have a Republican or a Democrat party controlling the government, meaning they sweep, right? Yeah. That does start to influence some of the data. But when you look at divided governments, which is more than 60% of the time, it's like almost identical rate of return between Republican and Democrat. So, I mean, over the data
is more than likely going to happen.
More than likely going to happen, yeah.
I am curious. So,
but by the way, in all scenarios, whether it's Democrat sweeps, Republican sweeps, or it's divided, all of those scenarios, the market averages positive returns. So what are you choosing to do here?
Not only positive, the last 30 years, 10.4% average return. No matter who was in office.
Yeah.
Those people that are moving to cash, guys, what percentage of those people, though, because there's a spectrum of this, are doomsdayers? And like what percentage of people are just like feeling uneasy and they're like trying to time the market? Because there's definitely some people, like you said, who are going into the woods and they're like, I'm done with this. What percentage of those people are like, everything's falling apart, this is done, I'm moving to cash forever, as opposed to like, I'm just feeling a little uncertain, I'm just going to time the market, I'll get back in.
So fair to say during Obama's 8 years, markets did pretty well, right? So pretty fair to say.
Yeah.
Republicans felt terrible about the economy during that period of time.
Yeah, this is a good talking point.
Trump was president for 4 years after that. Republicans felt great. Markets did great. Democrats felt terrible. For the last 4 years, markets have obviously done just fine. There's been some turbulence, but they've done just fine. Yeah. Republicans have felt terrible. Democrats have felt great. Mm-hmm. So it's literally, I think the answer to your question is a little different. It's just if you're a Republican and you believe the Republican candidate's going to win, you're going to probably keep your money invested. Mm-hmm. So that would mean more Democrats would go to money. I'm just guessing on this, but that's what I would think is happening.
Yeah. And that's that's the biggest point of why we want to do this episode is this is the biggest setup that I've ever seen in my career. I've been doing this a long time, guys. How many years? 16 years? This is the biggest setup I've ever seen for people to get irrational and make a bad decision. I've never seen a more volatile situation amongst people as what we're in right now. It is the best setup to make a really bad decision with your money.
Yeah. You literally, whatever party you associate with, you feel worse no matter what if the other one's in office.
Right. Yep.
No matter what, even if things are great.
I think also the reason why that people are feeling this way as well, which is you shouldn't be thinking this way, is like people have been feeling really bad these last 4 years or whatever because of inflation and their grocery bills are high. So they're equating that to then how they feel about the stock market, but they're completely separate.
Right.
Like just because you feel like the economy is bad because prices are high, you can't afford anything, that has nothing to do with what's going on in the stock market. That doesn't mean the stock market is just going to crash because the economy has been bad and then there's going to be turbulence with the election as well. Those are two completely separate things.
Yeah.
And by the way, because prices have gotten so high because the economy was good.
Yeah.
That's what people that's what people don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're approaching 2 years of a ridiculously good market, and a lot of bad was going on during that period of time.
Right.
High inflation, high interest rates, which were still there. Inflation's obviously been falling, and whatever's going on now, but.
Well, and where are we at year to date returns?
I just wrote yesterday. We were up like about 16% before yesterday.
For what?
For the S&P, yeah.
Yeah, we're up 16% in an election year.
Yeah, after last year.
Yeah. And again, typically, according to the data, you see increased volatility during like the primary season, which is kind of like what we're at. And we are seeing increased volatility right now. And the market has been down pretty aggressive the last week or so, but we're still 16% positive year to date.
Right.
Maybe that pulls back to some number, but more than likely we're finishing this calendar year positive, would be my guess. And
I'd be shocked
it's
if
an
it
election
fall
year.
down to the average. The average is 6.2% in an election year.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if we got to that.
And that's a good data point. The average return during an election year is 6.2%, whereas in a non-election year, it's 9.6%. That's a pretty big difference, and that is because of the uncertainty, and the market doesn't like uncertainty. However, it's still positive 6.2%. There's nothing that's going to beat that.
Right.
Cash is not going to beat that.
Right.
So,
most importantly, still positive.
And again, let's say you're the person that you hope gets elected in. You went to let's imagine you went to cash, and then the person that you don't like gets elected. When are you getting back in?
Yeah, now you're trying to time the market. Yeah.
So
now you're trying to time the market.
And it's the hardest thing ever to do.
Yeah,
So,
this chart is actually crazy. This should be honestly what we just put up on the screen. If you believe that history is just going to, if you believe in the stock market, and this should just tell you everything's going to be fine. Besides 2008 and 2000, which were like the biggest stock market crashes, the dot-com bubble, and then the housing market, everything else after election day, the S&P 500 index went up.
here's another
every single time.
Here's another
100 days after.
100 days after.
The worst was 5% in 100 days.
Has there ever been a stock market like a recession, let's say, or whatever, is defined by what? Being down 20%?
A recession is the GDP.
I'm talking stock market.
Oh, yeah.
Correction is 10% or more.
Yeah.
And I think so.
Well, or a bear market's 20%.
Bear market is 20%. Okay. Has there ever been a bear market that was created by an election?
No.
Never.
No.
Let's go through the last 3 or 4. COVID, not created by an election. The 2022 was created by inflation, not by an election. 2008 was created by what?
Banks.
Real estate, financial institutions. .com crash 2000 had nothing to do with elections. Like, there's never been a bear market because of an election.
No.
How's that possible? But everybody that we would interview, 100 out of 100 people on the street are really afraid about what is going to happen to my investments because of this election.
That would be cool to just go. I mean, you have to get lucky a little bit, but to interview like 10 of each side, just ask them what they think is going to happen in the market next year.
Right.
Depending on who wins.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
I mean, this all what's crazy about this is all this should make you feel better about this stuff. At least even when I'm looking at it and I knew this going into it, it just makes you feel better about the situation, because think about it, people are just worried about the unrest in the country, and then they have to worry about their investments. Just take that off your plate, because I mean, history has shown that it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, and also don't try to get cute with like, well, I heard Trump's a big cryptocurrency supporter, so now's the time to pile into Bitcoin if he gets elected.
Yeah.
Don't try to get cute with picking sectors of the economy either.
You got to have a long-term mindset. Now, this entire episode is around like we're assuming that if you're going to be an investor and you want to build long-term wealth, you are having a long-term mindset. If you're trying to get rich and invest over the next 1 to 2 years, we can't help you turn this off because there's nothing we could say about that. But the fundamentals of investing and accumulating long-term wealth is having a long-term mindset. Have that long-term time horizon and just stay the course and everything's going to work out.
Mm-hmm. I would, to give people some, like, I guess, I don't know if credit's the right word, but it is really hard to ignore now, like a lot harder to ignore over the last, let's call it 8 years compared to the prior 8 years, just with like what's going on Twitter. The media is
everything's in your face.
It is right in your face. I mean, anxiety's got to be through the roof in this country, like comparatively like 10 years ago.
Yeah. It's harder than ever to detach from your emotions. That's why I said earlier, it's the biggest setup I've ever seen for people to make irrational decisions.
Yeah.
If we had flip phones and no cable, people would be a lot happier.
Flip phones, why does that solve?
Well, you can't
really look at stuff.
Yeah. Why? You just flip it open.
No, I'm talking about the old flip phones.
Dude, isn't it crazy that let's just say the stock market does crash? It's because everyone's selling. It has nothing to do with what's at the stock market, which is how the companies are performing. It has nothing to do with that. Right. If the stock market does crash, people will be like, look.
If you want to talk about, you think that we're going to we got layoff problems coming and stuff like that, and that setting the market, like, sure, that's reasonable. That's an example of a thing that would cause the market to go down into bear market territory. Yeah. Never happened with an election.
So, I mean, do we need to talk about that to remind people unemployment's still ridiculously low, wage growth higher than inflation? Things are really, really good economically.
Yeah, but this is the thing is like people will then say, oh, X candidate is going to get in and then start ruining that stuff. Yeah. That's what people say.
Right.
Yeah. Because of X, Y, and Z policy, whatever, you know, jobs are going to plummet, all this stuff. And it has to do with how they're feeling right now, which is, you know, you're saying like the economy is great, but people don't feel good about it because of prices, the grocery bill, stuff like that, how they've been feeling. There's just like a lot of built up angst on this and it's all coming to a point and it's making people feel really uneasy about their investments. Yeah.
I mean, I think so. We've been studying this data for a while. We've pretty much figured out as long as people are employed, things are going to keep going well.
Yeah.
And with the exception of 2020 and that massive spike in unemployment, when's the last time we've even had bad unemployment? It's been forever.
Right.
We haven't had, numbers that probably 08, 09, I'm sure this is probably the last time.
Right.
I was in the business.
Where?
First year.
I was in geometry class.
First year on the job, 2008.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That was your first year on the job?
Did you ever hear the famous line from my dad?
No, what did he say?
So my dad does construction. He's a blue collar dude, obviously. He goes, you and your banker buddies who caused all this.
Wait, first year on the job?
First year on the job.
Wait, did you get in after or before the crash?
Before.
No way. Wait, did you even realize what was going on though when it was crashing?
Yeah, I was really kind of into it.
Dude, you and your banker buddies. Dude, that's amazing. All right, so let's say this.
Let's wrap it up.
We've talked about the facts. What should you do? The number one thing is nothing. You should, dude. Doesn't that kind of suck? Like, it is crazy that's
unless your time horizon's shortened up.
Right? Yeah. If your time horizon is shortened up, turn this episode off. But isn't it crazy if people look to us to be the experts with 30 plus years of experience? These guys know what's going on. Our advice, what you should do, is nothing. But there's a lot that goes into that nothing.
There's a lot that goes into that. But we're not saying do nothing. We're saying be invested, be diversified.
Stay the course.
Yep.
You know, we change weightings and stuff like that, but you still got to be in the market.
Yep. So number one is do nothing. Number two, what you were just saying though, like obviously do nothing. We say that from a standpoint of don't move around your money. Don't let emotions dictate what you're going to do over this short-term time frame. Think about what your goals are, your overall financial plan, and have that long-term mindset, and that should pull you away from that and don't do anything.
Yeah.
The second one, which is, kind of contradicting doing nothing, review your asset allocation and be diversified. This Warren Buffett quote is awesome, but it was when the tide goes out, we're going to see who wasn't swimming with a bathing suit on. Right? It's good. If there's going to be volatility, which is the one thing we can confirm is the markets will be volatile short term during this. What is your solution to that? Asset allocation and diversification.
Yep.
What does that mean? What's asset allocation?
If you're gonna, sorry, just to like elaborate on that. Like if you're gonna make an investment decision to move to cash, it better be based on some type of economic data. But you think earnings are gonna fall off a cliff, and you think somehow interest rates are gonna start going back up. Yep. All right, go to cash.
And no one's gonna have a job.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna have spiking unemployment. Earnings are gonna fall off a cliff, and interest rates are gonna go up. Go to cash.
Yep.
If you really think that's gonna happen, okay. But at least it wasn't based on who's. I mean, maybe you would make that decision because of who you think is going to win. But
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
But hey, if you need to, you need to have a little comforting chat, give us a call. We'll walk you through the data points.
Mm-hmm.
We'll help you get some reason.
Yeah, or I'll have a panic attack with you. We can do it together.
I mean, we've never had a client set a 1 year risk tolerance. Right. So you when you're taking a risk tolerance question and you're figuring out what asset allocation you should be in based on your risk, you're never thinking about it over the next 1 year. You're always thinking about it over the long haul. So just think about it that way.
It's crazy because if your time horizon, if you're invested, your time horizon should be long in the first place, and this shouldn't even matter to you.
Yeah. Is that a wrap?
Any closing thoughts?
No, I think we nailed it.
And turn off
the bunker, go to cash, buy gold.
And buy gold. Wait, why do people say buy gold? Because if something happens to the world, it's like the most like reserved.
You'll
currency.
never hear someone born in the last 35 years say, "Go buy gold bars."
Go buy,
unless you're a conspiracy theorist,
right? Go buy gold bars. I think the last one I would say too is turn off the news, but that's tough just because it's like all in your face. Yeah. I would say you can, because you want to know what's like going on and be informed, but just don't let it dictate your feelings. Don't let headlines dictate your decisions with your money. It's like rule number one.
Yep. And it leads to irrational decision making.
Yep. Cool. Maybe we'll do another one as like it gets closer, depending on like maybe there's some more stuff comes out and people become a little bit more uneasy, and we'll do something like this. But hopefully this can kind of quell the fears of a lot of people watching and investors, because like Mark said, if we went to go ask 20 people, I'd imagine people aren't feeling too good about what's going on.
This is kind of, I mean, I just noticed this. Going back to 1929, average first year return 9.88, second year 8.47, third year 17.64, fourth year 10.19, no matter who was in control. All 4 years positive, about 10%.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, which is the good news.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching and listening to the Max Your Dash podcast. We will catch you in the next one.